As a man, I want to be responsible, able to handle my business and take care of my family.
Some of us are hardworking, true leaders in society and positive role models to youths of this generation.
A father is the blueprint of a man to his sons and daughters.
As a young man, I want to be a leader who leads by example.
Many men care for the family and want to protect and provide for them.
We have to ask ourselves the question, am I comfortable in functioning in my capacity as a role model and exemplar to my family and the community?
Gary Grant was born and grew up in Laventille, and somewhere around the age of around 6, 7, my father and mother separated, so my mother became a single parent. During that time I used to go to primary school, and my mother would always say that you have no father and your father don't love you. So you find that in school, when you see the other kids' fathers come in and stuff, it would be kind of, it's something you would look at and you'd long to have your father. But I would say that my father used to come in school and look for us, but when my mother find out, she used to get on very bad because she didn't want him to be around us. And I remember a time that he came at our home, and when he came to our home, he brought groceries and clothing and food stuff, and she took everything and she threw it on the ground. And she told me I thought she don't want him around her children, and that he have no children. And I remember one time my father came in school and he gave me and my brother money. And we didn't see him for a long time, so we were really happy to see him. And that is something that stuck in my memory, just seeing him come in school after I've seen him for such a long time and knowing him like your father. I could still remember the joy. My mother was very disciplined, she was very strict, and she was very hardworking and independent as a woman, and she protected her child in the sense of she didn't allow anybody to take advantage of us, and she tried her best to grow us up in the right way and to make sure that we had all that we needed. So those were some good things about my mother. Well, the time when I was growing up in Laventille, to me, Laventille was not really a hotspot or a crime place, because I used to walk from school. Well, what I used to give us money to travel, me and my other brother. We went to Eastern Boys Government School, and that was in Nelson Street, Nelson and George Street. And we used to walk from there to where we lived, which was Red Hill in Laventille up there. And we used to pick mango, pick dongs, raid people cherry tree, and it was nice. We used to go and play in lime. I mean, it's not a normal fight amongst youngsters within the community, but crime wasn't really our focus where we were concerned. It wasn't something that we thought about, right? But Laventille definitely has changed how it was at that point in time. And I wouldn't say that at that point in time that it had any kind of negative influence, at least with people around my age growing up in Laventille. It had a dude or a URP project, and it had a guy who was a foreman. He was the foreman, and every time I pass, he would call me and talk to me. That time I was around 8, 9 years, and he used to take me into the shop and buy a orchard and a coconut drop sooner. And I used to look forward to that. I used to call him foreman, and we built a relationship, and you'd always, when you see me, talk to me and give me positive advice and stuff like that. So that's a person I'll never forget, because at that time he was, at that young age, he was the only positive male influence, you could say, that was older than me that I had. Well, to start from where it started when I went to secondary school. I was more until junior secondary time. I was a kind of reserved, shy fella. I was bright in school, but yet still, in school, going to school, you find that the fellas who get the attention, the rankers in the school, were fellas who were disobedient, breaking beach, fighting, disrespectful to teachers. And I wasn't that type of fella. And I never used to get no kind of attention in school, and I started to watch these fellas and say, well, these fellas doing all that is wrong, but yet still getting attention in school. They have all the friends. It so happened that one day, a guy who was a bully in school, I had a video game playing, and he come and take it from me, and we started a fight, and I ended up winning the fight. And after the fight, I started to get plenty of attention. So the girls started to notice me. The fellas want to be my friend, they want to hang out, they want to line. I became a leader. And in order to maintain that, I also continue to fight, to be disrespectful to teachers, to break beach, to give trouble in school. Because that was the only way that I could have maintained the reputation that I gained. So I started to live a double life. When I go home, I would be like an angel to my mom. And then when I come back in school, I would be like the devil, fighting and giving real trouble. And that is where that crime life started stepping in, because I come and get expelled from school because of fighting. They got fed up on me in school, and I got thrown out before I could even get a CX or anything like that. And I ended out, my mother ended up, but I never ran away from home too. And I ended up by my father, I didn't stay there long, and then I ended up in Sawa, in Ikwezi. And whilst I was living in Ikwezi, I had a cousin who got in an altercation with somebody else because I owed him some money. And he told me, well, come, because I like to fight and was miserable and get in trouble. So we went and we beat up the guy, and he went to the station and said that's how we robbed him. And I got arrested for the first time at the age of 17 years. Now, it's when I went into prison, I used to fantasize about these gangsters, here in the name corner. I used to want to be like them and want to meet them too. So I find out when I was arrested, I was placed in a cell because I was from Sawa. So all these Sawa, the bad men from Sawa at that time was in that cell. And they tried to say, small man, I like your vibes. I spent about 2 weeks in prison, and they said, what you are moving? I said, I like your vibes, but when we go out of jail, we could ride. Because I like how you're aggressive is and things like that. And it so happened that after, when I came out of prison, after about 2 weeks, my father took word that one of the guys who I met in prison came out, and he followed up on what he said in prison that we would meet, and then from there I started to live my life of crime. And I used to feel like I was a Robin Hood in the community, in the sense that you come in, you would give things to other youths, probably might get them clothes, probably if you get a chain, probably some small chain, you don't worry, you might give somebody it. You might give somebody money, so you felt that you're contributing positively to the community, and you also felt that you were a protector of the community. So because your name calling and probably use the bad boy in the community, you find that if anybody else committed in the community to distress anybody, the people would look towards you. So it makes you feel that although you're doing wrong, in the sense of robbing people, committing violent acts, you still feel that you're serving a good purpose, that you're doing something positive in the community, because there are people looking up to you in the community for protection, and also you're a provider for some people within the community. And although you're committing crime, you might have certain youths in the community who you see doing good, and you might try to encourage them to stay away from crime. They're not for you. You're smoking with them, might say, don't come around me. They're not for you, because you see that they're doing well in school, you see the kind of family they're coming from, and they don't want to influence them negatively, so you go push them away. So all these things that make you feel like although you're doing something wrong, you're doing it right. You're doing something right. And also, I remember that before I go and commit crime, I used to always read a New Testament, a small one. So I used to put it in my back pocket anytime I go and commit any robberies, or I used to always say a prayer before I go and commit any crime. And that way, the guy that came out of prison and influenced me in a life of crime, he also was of a certain religion, and he used to say that Babylon is white people is the enemy and rich people is the enemy. So when I go out and commit any crime, I still feel that I ain't doing nothing wrong because I come like I robbing the enemy or I afflicting the enemy. And I just sincerely believe that I was one of God's angels to execute judgment upon evildoers, and evildoers as white people and people that rich. So I still feel justified in what I was doing. Well, it had good teachers. It had teachers who used to try to encourage me to do the right thing. So if I would give them respect, but yet still it didn't really cause me to change my behavior. It had older people in the community, like older women in the community that used to talk to me and try to steer me in the right direction, but the negative influence was stronger. Because after getting that kind of attention and people have you as a leader and looking up to you, you find it as being very, very hard. But the community tried to be a support because they knew my potential to do good. But yet still I rejected that support because of the power and the respect, the so-called respect that you got from the younger people within the community. Well, I've been incarcerated many times, and every time I came out of prison I always said that I ain't going back this time. But my way of not going back this time is that I go say to myself, I go wear mask this time. Or probably I go be more wiser in what it is I'm going to do. Or probably I go send other people to do certain things for me and I go hold back. But yet still I keep finding myself back in prison again, over and over again. So even so the only way to stay out of prison is to do the right thing. To stay on course. And at the time when you come out of prison, sometimes it have a lack of support in the sense that when you come out of prison, you're just thrown out of the prison. Well, at that time while I was in the prison, they didn't really have any programs or any activities to really help you to come back in prison. And that was more any money outside at that moment in time. And then when I came out of prison, I had no follow-up or they didn't have any programs in place at that time. They really give you the encouragement to stay on course. So if you came out if you're in prison and you come back out and probably have a wife and children, and you have no skills, you have no job, you have no means of getting money for your children, you will eventually go back to a life of crime because you don't have the support that you need. And added to that, when you come out there, your peer group, the persons that probably were involved in crime before, they just give you full support in the sense that they will bring money for you, they will give you a little time out before they encourage you to do anything again. But the kind of love and support it does give you, or you might see that love and support, will cause you to gravitate back towards them and to continue to do what you were doing before. But I know probably in this time it have other support system for persons coming out of prison that could help them to properly reintegrate back into society. But at the point in time when I was in prison, they didn't have that. Until the last time I was incarcerated, which was, I came out in 2000 December. I came out at, when myself and Wayne Jones, we started Vision Mission in prison. So that was that, living that life in prison, because the last sentence I served, which was 5 years, at that time I had gotten fed up of living a life of crime, and I really wanted out. So I was doing all kind of different things to try to get out of the life of crime, but it was real hard. I really had a desire. I went and baptized in a particular faith. I went and did bush bath. I went by opium and I do all kind of things to try to stop, and I just could not stop living a life of crime. It so happened that I had a case in the High Court and it came back up, and I went up and I get sentenced to 5 years in prison. And this time when I went in prison, I joined up with Vision Mission while I was in prison. But the Vision Mission didn't form yet, but I met Wayne Chance in prison. And we started, at that time there was preaching the gospel and I started to go to church, and then after a couple of months I became like an elder in the church. And having that responsibility in prison and prisoners looking up to you, that encouraged me to continue to do what is right. So for that 3 years and 4 months that I spent in prison the last time, I used that time to learn more about myself, to learn about the word of God and to strengthen myself. So when I reached out of prison, at that point in time, that I wouldn't go back making the same mistakes that I did. And yes, when I came out of prison that last time, it was another challenge. Although I came out and I had support in the sense of, well, we really came out a week before and I came out after, and we started going for visual mission. But at that point in time, I still had some persons who was committing crime. It was on the outside. I remember when I came out of prison one night, I was so much in television, and one of the persons I used to ride with come and he tell me, he say, "What's not boy? Them fellas and them who is the enemies, them fellas and them don't want to hear you is no Christian or you're serving God. Because in spite of that, them fellas them will still kill you." So then he and the person he came and he pull out a gun. And he say, "Here what? Keep this and watch your back. Because them fellas and them don't want to hear no Christian thing." And then based on what I learned while I was in prison, I told him, I said, when a man ways please God, he will make his enemies to be at peace with him. And I leave him and he went with the gun. And a couple of days after, he come and get killed with the same gun that he wanted to give me to protect myself. And it had, other persons come and tell me, "Here what, we have a robbery to go on and we know you're real aggressive. Then for that you're riding with a soft, all that to hype you up and to encourage you to go and commit crime." And that time I didn't have no money. I still have a girlfriend and trying to see about. And I pushed all of that aside. I said, "I ain't going back." And I was determined that time. I make up my mind. I say, in spite of what, in spite of the challenges that I face now, I was determined to live right for spite and to do the right thing. And all the plenty temptations come, but I just didn't give up and I stayed on course. And because of that, I've been out of prison now since 2000 December, the longest. 17 years now out of prison. I'm going on 18 years. And that's because of the decision that I make, that I'm doing it right for spite. I'm not going back to living a life of crime. I think it's a sense of purpose that probably have most young persons who live in that type of life live in it. Because I also told you that I tried to believe that was an avenging angel sent to execute judgment upon evildoers. So I was thinking that was purpose. But then when I started to read the Bible and I understand what my purpose really was, I diverted from that into my true purpose. And that is what is going on with plenty of the young people. The wrong persons sell them their purpose, sell them a dream, and probably they're looking at other persons experiencing certain things in the community, like a community leader, we just call them. They might see that person getting contracts, ministers or MP coming by here to talk to him. Anything that happens in the community can't happen without that person. They're watching the kind of influence that person have. So because of what they're seeing, they could probably think, well, what, I want to be like he. I want to be like that person. And it'll drive them towards that direction. And purpose again, they might feel that probably that is my purpose to be like he. And end up going in that direction. But unless they find their true purpose and their true calling, they might continue to live that life. And end up as how many of them end up now, dead on the street like dogs. So purpose really is important. My happy moment is when I realized that my life really changed. And I was in prison. Prisoners used to tell me, "Boy, you always happy like you like jailer. They didn't give you enough jailer." And it was because of the relationship that I built with God in prison. I was feeling so happy. I wasn't feeling like if I was locked up behind prison bars. I was feeling like I was totally free. And prisoners used to mock me and say, "Boy, you think the judge and them give you enough jail, they should send you back, give you a retrial for you to get more jail because like you like jail." Because I was so happy although I was locked up inside prison because of the relationship that I had with God. Right, so that was one of the happiest moments for me. And the second happiest is when I always wanted a son, and I got a son when I stopped living a life of crime. After I came out of prison and I changed my life and got married and stuff, I got a son, and that was the happiest moment of my life. Thank people like Joniel Williams, Hal Graves, because after I came out of prison, and we were trying to build Visional Mission, we started the process. We won a program on television with Hansley Ajoda, and the Attorney General called because he liked what we were doing, and he decided to have a program called Score with the Law. So he would use our testimonies, our experience to show people the benefits of upholding the law and the downfall of breaking the law. So we used to go out in different communities and speak to youths and talk about that. And through that now, I ended up meeting Hargreaves, and then he spoke to the then minister, who was John Yule Williams, and I got a job working in the Ministry of Community Development. And that job now gave me now the platform to go throughout Laventille, East Port of Spain, and talk to youths and try to dissuade them from going into a life of crime. Because what happens most of the time is that when somebody was incarcerated, comes out of prison, they don't really share the real things that happen in prison. They try to make it look like, although it's a bad place, they try to make it look like it's a ranking place. They try to make it look like it's a place that you could go and barely level a rank and so forth. But I used to go out and show them the real negatives of prison, the kind of loss you suffer, the kind of pain, the kind of grief, the kind of sorrow, the kind of traumatic things that happen while staying in prison. I see them from that platform. And after working in community development, the Ministry of National Security heard about the work that I was doing within East Port of Spain. And then I ended up going into the Citizen Security Program. Then I'm calling me across the Ministry of National Security, where I'm working now, and still at the platform now. But what's even a bigger platform now, to continue to do the work to reach out to youths. Also, I work with one of my colleagues with a program called Abyssinia Journey of Change, where we go to all these schools, most of these schools, and we talk to them about the same thing, the consequences of living a life of crime. So I have gotten the opportunity to do what I wanted to do since I changed my life, because I felt that I've contributed towards the problem. So now I decided I want to be a solution. And that is what I do now. Speak to youth, speak to persons, speak to gang members, persons who might be wrapped up in a life of crime or thinking about going into a life of crime. I use my experience to talk to them, to show them that it's not no bed of roses, it's not what you feel it is. Most important things for persons to do is stop turning a blind eye. Meaning that you would see a youth within the community. You see the type of home that they come from. You know the type of things that they're doing, the type of people that they're hanging out with. And you would never say anything. You might shoo amongst them people and say, you see, if you continue so, when you grow up, you're going to be a criminal, or you're going to be a bad man, or you're going to be a gunman. But you never take the opportunity to try to influence that youth in a positive way. Probably family might not have the finances to probably send them to do extracurricular activities, or probably the parents might be single. You might have a single parent and nobody at home to supervise them when he comes from school. There is some role that you could play, because that is something that in my community that I used to watch, that once people see that you're turning bad, it's come like they used to just reject you. Instead of trying to help, they would have their hands off and they would step back instead of trying to help. And plenty of these young people and them have respect for the elders in the community. At least in my intent, they have respect. So if an elder person talking to them, they would give them that respect. But now, like the elders, like they're afraid to even talk to the young people. But there's always somebody in the community that this youth would respect. Whether it's a coach, I'm talking about a positive person. Whether it's a coach, a teacher, a pastor, a pundit, somebody that they would look up to who could influence them in a positive direction. So sometimes we wait until the problem reach humongous, monstrous, and then we try to intervene. At that point in time, it will be too late. So that is what they talk about, bending the tree while it is young. If enough people would intervene and try to be a positive role model to that young person, you could see a difference. Instead of talking about the child's behavior behind closed doors or with certain cliques of people, you try to make a positive difference in that child's life. I see myself as a completely new person. I mean, totally not the way that I was before. Sometimes I just say, if some of my friends could come back alive and see me now, they want to know who is me. Because I might be looking the same, but my life has been totally transformed. So I see myself as a person now I give my whole life to seeing change and transformation in young people and anybody else who might be caught up in whatever kind of negative activities. Right now, I just love people right now. It wasn't so before, but my thing is just people, helping people, seeing people's life change, seeing people prosper, seeing people, it's just about people, seeing people live a better life. That is my whole life now. Well, to be honest with you, I have my desires, but God always just bring me in a different direction, because when I came out of prison, I never thought that I'd be working with the government, because I didn't give up hope already. I never thought that I'd be working in the Ministry of National Security of all, after committing crime and getting locked up from police and going through the system so many times. But I want to thank the government of Trinidad and Tobago for giving me a second chance. And it shows that once you're willing to change your life, once you're willing to do what is right, that you would be given a second chance. And I also want to say that the people of Trinidad and Tobago is loving people. The people of Trinidad and Tobago is forgiving people. Because even if you do wrong, but then you decide to change your life, they would give you that support, because I got it. Right? So my thing now, what I would like to do, as I say, it might be God's will, but what I'm doing right now, I've started a church and I want to see it grow. I want to see it grow and want to reach out to more and more people. Right? I want to continue to work within the communities and continue to contribute my life towards seeing the betterment of other people. So that is where my life is heading right now.